Action.
The Life of a Hobbyist, a Warhammer 40k documentary. What is Warhammer 40k? Well, Warhammer 40k is Warhammer 40,000, which is a game created by the company Games Workshop. It is a tabletop slash hobby slash wartime strategy game. What's involved and sometimes required for this hobby is broken into a few aspects. There's the modeling aspect, there's painting aspect, and then there's the game aspect. In the modeling aspect, you're required to put models together that come in sprue pieces like this, similar to a plastic plate. And there's a standard set of how they're put together. However, anything that deviates from the standard is considered a conversion. Now, by taking a look at this model, this is a highly converted model. There are only a handful of pieces on this that are standard with how this model originally goes. The faceplate, the axe, the wings, and even the base have been converted. If you look closely, the wings, when they attach, didn't attach correctly, so there needed to be a little bit of sculpting done. This is something else that's done inside of this hobby, where you use a two-part epoxy putty that's more commonly known as green stuff. By using the green stuff, you're able to bind two pieces that normally would not go together and put them together. And by sculpting, you can sculpt however you want. Depending on your level of skill and time that you have will determine how much sculpting and converting you do. Also, there is basing. That is a standard base for that model. However, by adding the dead soldier by his feet, that is a conversion. It is considered common to have at least two colors and either grass or flock, as they call it, added to it. This model is still a work in progress. Also, if you look, there are many people that use magnets in pinning. Pinning is the art of using a paper clip or a piece of rod to hold two pieces of the model together that normally would not be able to stay together correctly, even with the addition of super glue holding the binds. As with magnetizing, you were able to make one model turn into several, due to the fact that the gaming options allow you to have several different outcomes of what war gear your models can have. So by having magnets, you're capable of changing what war gear your soldiers have. Now the painting aspect. As you look at this model, there is a lot of painting that has been done. Normally what's considered tabletop standard is 3 colors, not including the base coat. Base coat is whatever color you choose to prime on it. Standard then from the norm of what the model comes out as, which is gray. Painting can go from just the standard, I put 3 colors onto the model and made it look decent, to very elaborate sets of painting. This is a 28mm model in scale. There are also different variations of how people can get different effects at this scale to work and how they want their model to look. Also, people do use airbrushing. Now, airbrushing itself is a little difficult, but once you get it down, it's very practical and has a lot of uses inside of this hobby, if only limited. Now, I've been asked why I do this. I've been doing this hobby for 15 years. I got into it just before 8th grade, and it's fun. That's really why I do it. I enjoy everything about the hobby. What keeps me drawn to Warhammer 40k and Games Workshop hobbies as a whole is there are 15 different armies to choose from, and not every single one of them is the same. There's always something new to do, and by the time that I'm capable of moving forward, there are new models that are coming out from different sculptors that are better designed and better in quality. There's also the literature of Warhammer 40k. There is a New York Times bestseller series list of a book series called the Horus Heresy. This makes up one series inside of the Games Workshop literature. And as of September, they will be on book 22. What I enjoy about this hobby is the fact that not only do I get to interact with other hobbyists and learn different techniques from them, but even though I have my own imagination that I'm able to use and utilize, I'm not just stuck in it. I'm capable of seeing something I like that somebody else did and incorporating it into something that I may want to do. Now, I did mention earlier there was the gaming aspect of this hobby. With that, there are roughly three fields. There's just playing a friendly game with your friends, because this game does require you to have another person to play with. You can't play this over the computer, obviously. There's your friendly local game store, tournaments, and game nights, where you can meet other people in your area that do go to that game store, and you can battle them and see how well your army does, and on top of that, also see how well they are painting or converting and using the hobby to their fullest advantage of their army. There are also convention-style tournaments. Several of them take place in convention halls around the country. Three of note would be Adepticon in Chicago, the Bay Battle Open in San Francisco, and Games Day, which is run by Games Workshop, and that is in Baltimore, Maryland. However, it can change to Chicago depending on what venue is available. What are the downsides to this hobby? The downsides to this hobby, it's expensive. I'm not gonna lie. A standard 2,000 point army, which is roughly standard play size, plus all the modeling equipment that you would need, which is maybe a 20th of this on my table, will run you about $800 just out of the gate. It's a time suck. I can very easily lose myself for hours painting, thinking of conversions, thinking of paint schemes and everything else. And it's also a time suck in that it forces you to be creative. Now, this is not necessarily a negative, but it forces you to learn how to use color palettes, learn how to be crafty, use your imagination to get certain things that you want to get done without paying the full price for making sure that it happens. Another negative is this game requires a lot of space. A standard game board is a 4-foot by 8-foot table, and you have to provide the terrain for it. So as I mentioned earlier, what